The Zero Human Company. This is Priviso Live. Welcome back to Priviso Live. I am Lynn, and if you have been following us for any length of time, you will know that we have a soft spot for ideas that start in someone's garage and end up changing the world. Today's story is exactly that kind of thing, and it involves a company with no employees, no board meetings, no sick leave, and quite frankly, no salary negotiations, which I think most of us can agree sounds rather appealing.
Aish, Lynn, I was just complaining about my performance review this morning. Are you telling me there is a company somewhere that has solved that problem entirely?
Yeah, Kayla, apparently so. Stephen, you have been digging into this one. Set the scene for us.
Happy to. What we are talking about today is something called the Zero Human Company, or the ZHC, which is exactly what it sounds like. A fully autonomous, AI-operated business enterprise with no human employees whatsoever. The brainchild of an American futurist and technologist named Brian Roemmele, the ZHC has been running since early 2026, and it is provocative enough that every organization operating today needs to pay close attention.
Okay, hold on. No employees at all? Not even an intern?
Not even an intern, Kayla. No HR department, no payroll, no coffee machine, no Friday afternoon team lunches. Just AI agents running around the clock on hardware that costs less than a mid-range laptop.
And when Stephen says running around the clock, he means that quite literally. We will come back to why that matters competitively in a few minutes, but first, let us understand who Brian Roemmele is and what he has actually built.
Brian Roemmele is not a household name in South Africa, but in technology circles, particularly on X, formerly Twitter, he has a substantial following because he consistently identifies emerging trends months or years before they hit the mainstream. He is a practitioner and inventor, and his work on artificial intelligence has been running well ahead of the curve for some years.
So he is like that person in your office who is always reading the unusual tech blogs 3 years before anyone else catches on?
Exactly that. Now, in the ZHC, Roemmele has set up a structure where an AI called Grok, which is xAI's large language model, and xAI is Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company, serves as the chief executive officer. Grok then directs teams of specialized AI agents, built on open-source frameworks, running on consumer-grade hardware from Roemmele's own premises.
And what does the company actually do?
It conducts research, generates intellectual property, manages its own operations, and is working toward generating revenue, entirely without human intervention. The company has even developed its own economic model called Joule Work, which proposes that AI labor should be measured and valued in terms of energy consumed rather than time worked. Grok, in its role as CEO, authored that framework as a preprint submission.
Wait, the AI CEO invented its own economic theory?
It did. Now, the project has attracted serious academic attention. A major university confirmed its support in early 2026, describing the work already achieved as groundbreaking. That kind of institutional endorsement is not a weekend hobby project.
But it has not been plain sailing, has it?
Not at all. The system has had 11 operational crashes since it started, 2 of which Roemmele admits were down to his own human error, which is, you have to say, a little ironic in a zero-human company.
Sharp, at least he owns it.
So here is where things get interesting and a little sobering. While Roemmele is claiming remarkable results from his own architecture, there is an independent study that tells a rather different story about AI agents in the real world. Stephen?
This is important context. Scale AI published the Remote Labor Index in 2026, where they tested frontier AI agents, the best models currently available, against 240 real projects sourced directly from Upwork, the global freelancing platform. These were not made-up exercises. They were actual paid jobs that human freelancers completed and were paid for, covering categories including software development, data analysis, design, and professional services.
And the results?
The best-performing AI agents successfully completed 2.5% of those tasks. The overall failure rate across all agents tested was 97.5%.
Yo, that is a lot of failing.
To put some scale on it, the human freelancers who completed those 240 projects earned a combined $143,991 in fees. The top-performing AI agent earned the equivalent of $1,720. Now, Roemmele contests those findings vigorously, claiming his particular architecture achieves a success rate approaching 97%, which would put it at the complete opposite end of the scale.
And that discrepancy is actually a useful signal in itself. What it tells us is that there is a very real and persistent gap between AI performance in controlled, optimized environments, which is what Roemmele has built, and AI reliability in messy, real-world professional conditions. Questions also remain about economic self-sufficiency. One analyst described autonomous AI enterprises as, and I am quoting here, sophisticated digital perpetual motion machines, impressive to observe, but ultimately still dependent on external financial inputs they cannot yet generate independently.
Which brings us to the most interesting part of this story, because there is an architectural concept emerging that may actually bridge that reliability gap. Kayla, you have been looking at the LLM Council model.
Yeah, and this is the bit that honestly got me interested. So a quick explainer, an LLM is a large language model. Think ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, all of the AI tools you have probably been using in your work. The LLM Council concept, popularized by Andrej Karpathy, who was one of the co-founders of OpenAI and also Tesla's former head of AI, proposes that instead of relying on a single AI model to make decisions, you run multiple AI models simultaneously, each with different training, different reasoning styles, different philosophical orientations, and you make them debate each other.
Like an actual boardroom.
Exactly like an actual boardroom. The models critique each other's reasoning, they flag inconsistencies, they vote, and then a meta-model synthesizes the consensus into a final answer. And the research backing this up is genuinely compelling. Studies on multi-agent debate frameworks found that using heterogeneous models, that is, models that are deliberately different from each other, improved mathematical reasoning accuracy by 4 to 6% and reduced factual errors by more than 30% compared to single model approaches.
The medical licensing examination result is the one that stops me in my tracks. An AI council achieved correct consensus between 93 and 97% of the time, outperforming individual frontier models operating in isolation. For a high-stakes decision environment, those numbers are highly significant.
And for the ZHC specifically, the LLM Council idea addresses one of its core weaknesses. Instead of a single AI CEO making unchallenged decisions, you introduce structured adversarial oversight. The models are effectively checking each other. It is the kind of internal governance mechanism that, in human organizations, we call checks and balances.
And it maps directly onto something our information security and governance audience will recognize immediately, which is the principles underpinning ISO IEC 42001, the international standard for AI management systems, and King 5, our own South African governance framework, both of which emphasize exactly this kind of structured accountability and layered oversight in AI decision-making. So let us bring this home. Why does this matter for the organizations represented by the people watching us right now?
Because the competitive implications of a fully functional zero-human company are severe, and they are not theoretical. A business operating with no salaries, no leave, no fatigue, no cognitive biases, and capable of processing and responding to market data at machine speed operates in a fundamentally different temporal dimension to its human-staffed competitors. Processes that take your organization weeks, vendor onboarding, contract negotiation, regulatory filings, competitive analysis, are already being completed in minutes by early autonomous systems. That speed differential, compounded over months and years, is an existential competitive challenge in many sectors.
But it is not uniformly threatening, right? Not every business is about to be replaced by an AI company running in someone's garage. Businesses often need interpersonal relationships and trust.
Correct, and this is the nuance that matters. High-volume, rules-based, data-intensive sectors are the most immediately vulnerable. Financial transaction monitoring, fraud detection, supply chain management, regulatory compliance processing, and certain categories of software development. Those are natural early candidates for autonomous AI competition.
But professional services sectors built on personal accountability, fiduciary obligation, and long-term relationship equity, think legal advisory, strategic consulting, governance oversight, medical practice, those are considerably more resilient, at least in the near term. Because as you say, Kay, trust is not merely a sentiment, it is the transactional infrastructure on which commerce is built. And that is something AI systems, even well-governed councils of them, cannot yet replicate with the credibility that human counterparties require.
And this is where our governance frameworks become genuinely important, not as compliance checklists, but as competitive intelligence tools. ISO IEC 42001 and King 5 give boards a structured way to assess, categorize, and respond to the AI capabilities that are entering their competitive environment. If your organization does not have an AI governance posture yet, the Zero Human Company is a very compelling reason to develop one now.
K. Bottom line, Lynn. L. The company that never sleeps is not a metaphor. It is a prototype that is running right now. The organizations that will be most disrupted are those that failed to monitor the early indicators. This is a threat intelligence function, not a technology curiosity. The question is not whether AI will eventually operate businesses autonomously. The trajectory is clear. The question is how much notice you give yourself to adapt. That is a wrap from Priviso Live. Drop us a comment and share the episode with someone who needs to have this conversation at their next board meeting. We hope you found today's episode interesting. If you did, please share it with your colleagues, your friends, your family. If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso Live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube. And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za. If you have topics you'd like us to cover, or questions about anything we discussed today, reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners. Thanks for listening.